I'm John Lentz, Albany Bureau Chief for City and State. Joining me is State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli, who was just nominated for re-election at the State Democratic Convention. What are your thoughts on being nominated by the party again?
Well, it's a great feeling. So many good friends here that I've worked with for many years. Very proud of the record we've put together in the Comptroller's office. I'm looking forward to a busy fall season and taking our message to the voters, and it's just nice to have the enthusiastic support of New York Democrats.
And one thing you mentioned is that you would not entertain any 401k type pension plan for workers in New York State. And tell me more about that and why that's a priority for you.
Well, I think that our defined benefit plan has worked well to provide retirement security to our public workers. I think there are great benefits to the rest of New York with the well-managed pension plan that we have in terms of our investments within our own state of New York, the retirement security that enables retirees to continue to live here in New York, spend money locally, pay their taxes. It's all part of what keeps our communities together. I don't think substituting defined benefit plans for defined contribution 401k plans makes sense. We'll just have more people with less retirement security. What I do think we need to do is have a larger discussion for those in the private sector that don't have these kind of pension benefits. What else can we do to come up with saving strategies to help those who aren't covered by pensions to have retirement security? People living longer, going to need more money to live age 90 and beyond. Government's going to have to pay for it at the end if we don't do something to provide more appropriate retirement security earlier in someone's life, save for that money early. That's been a big cultural change I think we have to be talking about.
Sure, and that kind of shift away from what we have now towards defined benefits is something the governor in the past has talked about. Some people saw this as a differentiation between you and the governor. You've clashed on other issues. How close are you with the governor? You only mentioned him once, I believe, in your speech today. How unified is the party? How close are you with the governor?
Well, I think the party is very unified. We are a team. It's very clear that my nomination wasn't challenged. The Attorney General Schneiderman's nomination not being challenged. The governor's nomination not being challenged. So I think we are a team. But we're Democrats. We're not necessarily lockstep. Agree with every single issue. But we are united, and I think our respective roles are ones that we respect. The controller is supposed to be an independent voice. That means sometimes we're going to say some things that others may not agree with, and I think that's what people expect me to do. That's the job I've done in the past. I'm going to continue do the job that way.
Sure. And in your race, it's the only one with this pilot public financing of campaigns, that program set up this year. You've opted out. The Republican candidate has opted in, will be taking advantage of that. Do you think that puts you, opens a weakness in this race?
Well, we'll see. I'm confident that as we continue to reach out, the support we've had is only going to grow. I am disappointed with how that system was set up. It wasn't the way I had recommended it. I'm hoping the legislature will fix it before they recess in June. Do a comprehensive program, not just for the Comptroller's office. I always said you could start here, but it wasn't meant to be an excuse not to do it more broadly and more comprehensively, and to do it in a more timely fashion. To change the rules on me and on this race 3.5 years into a 4-year cycle really wasn't fair, and I just don't think the specifics are workable. If it's going to mean, my opponent said he wants to use taxpayer dollars to fund his campaign, if that's going to enable him to be more competitive, time will tell. I still think we have the better message. So I learned 4 years ago, it's just not about the money. We were outspent significantly 4 years ago, and we still won. So we're going to bring our message to the voters, and I'm confident we're going to be elected once again.
And you mentioned public corruption. That's been a focus for your office. Yeah. Your opponent, Onondaga County Comptroller Antonacci, sent out an email today saying that you should investigate Assemblyman Keith Wright on per diem usage, whether he's actually using that appropriately. The Post had a story. Any response to that comment from your opponent?
No, my opponent just got into the race. I'm sure he's going to be taking any number of pot shots. The issue of per diems is one that we've been very involved in. The Boylan case, much of that came out of our audit work. I certainly have recommended that the legislature should, when anybody's asked me, make sure they have the tight procedures at the front end. I don't have any comment on his wanting to elevate one story in one newspaper to be a major issue.
Sure. And one last question. You mentioned local municipalities in New York, you want to make sure none of them ever go bankrupt. That's been a priority for you. You've paid close attention to how local municipalities are doing across the state. Are we past the worst point? Is the condition overall statewide improving enough that that's less of a risk than, say, 6 months ago, a year ago, or is it about the same as it's been?
It's an important question because I think we are in much better shape than we've been, certainly with our economy and our state budget as well. Not that we don't still have issues in the out years with our state's fiscal picture. Where I really think we have the bigger stress points, though, and where I have even more concern is at that local level. Because local governments, depending on which level you're looking at, they don't have the same revenue sources that the state has. They have been suffering from the same economic consequences, lower tax base, in some communities declining population, older population needing more services, less federal and state aid over a period of time, often limited to property taxes as a revenue source. So I think looking in the short run, where we're not out of the woods, there still are troubled waters, are with our local governments, our cities, our counties particularly. I think that's why we want to keep this focus with our fiscal stress monitoring. It's why we have the local government restructuring board that we've created, the legislature and the governor that we're a part of. We need to be sure that we don't have a Detroit happening here in New York. So I think that means not only monitoring but providing support, assistance, and over time looking at how we better define the partnership between state and local governments to make sure local government stays solvent in New York.
Comptroller, thank you for your time.
Thank you.